What is good?
Hey.
Once again, welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the Culture Society podcast, where we always strive to give you the latest in news, information, and entertainment, and discuss topics to make you ponder, make you think, whet the palates of your mind, in hopes that you continue similar conversations amongst yourselves. It's your guy, Marco Glorious, once again, starting off. We got the crew back.
Yay.
Yeah, we in here.
The official Culture Society crew.
Yes, indeed.
Loving it.
Miana Mora.
Miana Mora, yep.
Mr. Wright over here.
Iola in the house.
And today's topic today is what, Miana? You want to let them know?
The necessity of fathers versus single motherhood in the Black community.
Oh,
The necessity of fathers versus single motherhood in the Black
Dive,
community.
guys.
Necessity.
Deep dive.
Yes.
We have two
very-
fathers here.
Mm-hmm.
necessity.
I believe it is a necessity. Why are you making that face, Michael, right?
I guess it's because of the verses.
Oh, what do you mean by that statement? Miana?
Okay.
Or
You could go country.
No. Please, I would like to know what you mean by it, but I know how I feel about it. Like verses. When I think about verses, I think about a wrestling match or an arm wrestling competition. If it's a male, and then you put versus the opposite sex, like.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you think about with single mothers, what was it? You know, even everything from government assistance, single motherhood is, basically encouraged in today's age.
Absolutely.
so she's not necessarily saying that it's
Against
she's
one another.
putting it against each other, but I think society has made it that way.
No, I totally agree. And let me get more into what I mean by that. When it said verses, and to piggyback off what you just said, like the Black family structure, like we can go back to like the 1960s when a single mother, or mother period, who need help with their children to get welfare, there was no man could be allowed in the house.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
doing
There was
inspections.
I'm not saying like we're putting men versus women, but how social engineering
Social
carefully
engineering, that's
put
deep.
male versus female in the Black community.
Very true.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes back from even slavery, where the Black man was taken out of the household just to show the dominance of the master. Subconsciously, I think it's still very prevalent in the way people think. The stereotype is a very prominent stereotype that Black children are fatherless. Now, it's not really the case. People don't realize that, but the stereotype is so strong that there's many jokes. Comedians make jokes. I have friends that are comedians that make that joke like, yo, I had a father in the household. You know what I'm saying? It's a running joke. But I forget what organization, they did a study about I think it was the CDC. Yeah, the CDC surveyed over 3,900 fathers between 2006 and 2010, and actually found that Black fathers were more likely to bathe, dress, play, and dine with their children. But people don't realize that. You know what I mean? The stereotype is so strong. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And that's compared to our white and Hispanic counterparts.
Absolutely. And we also got to be careful because certain statistics and whatnot coincide with a certain agenda. You understand? So we got to understand the day and time we're living in today, that certain things are not going to be recorded, may not be recorded properly. Even if it is recorded, is to project a certain stereotype. Now, with social engineering, what that does, it basically uses whatever the person is emotional about. Now, let's say a mother with children back in the 1950s and 1960s, and you know how hard it was to get employment, seek employment. The male being the head of the household, supposed to be in the protector, go getting the bread, providing that provider, providing that financial security. Now, what happens to that family structure when he's no longer able to properly provide, and she has to provide for her children. Now she has to go to the state for help. You know, now when that woman goes to the state for help, I know back in the 1930s, when my grandmother was describing to me, there was only allowed 2 pair of shoes, 1 loaf of bread, and I think a bag of flour per household, no matter how many children you had.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Okay. You was allowed a loaf of bread, I believe 2 pair of shoes, a bag of flour, and that's per household.
This is the welfare system?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
No matter how many children you had. You understand?
That's crazy.
Now,
real quick, not to cut you off, Matt. This is recording, right? Okay, just making sure.
Now, the problem with that is so obvious, right, to us. But when you have a population of people who are going through this on a regular, it seems like the norm. It just seems like the everyday thing. Now we fast forward to the future, right? Now we have this booming, and I believe it says the study is the African American family structure, right? Now, in the 1950s, we start off at 35% of mothers being pregnant, unmarried.
Wow.
Just in the 1950s. Now let's skip to
mothers or black mothers?
Black mothers. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Black mothers, in the black family. Now let's skip all the way up to 2010. Now let's just say I'm gonna let you know we've been the champs. We've been champs ever since 1950s.
What do you mean?
All the way to now. We hold the record.
Yeah.
For the highest numbers, our percentage of single mothers are women giving birth to children unwed, meaning fathers either not there for whatever the reason or a cause may be. But my thing is that what's alarming to me, it became a trend.
I would like to add to that, though. I think it is a trend, but I think going back to what you said about just limitations, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama have the highest rate of fatherless homes. And you correlate it with states with the lowest rate of fatherless homes, which is Utah, North Dakota, and Idaho. So
wait, where'd you get those facts from?
I got these facts from fatherhood.org that has, it's like a statistical data source for fatherless homes in the U.S. So you said
the states with the highest fatherless homes were what again?
Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Mississippi is the highest.
And the lowest were
Utah, North Dakota, and Idaho.
Why do you think that is, Ayola?
I was going to say, it takes us to evaluate and really scale back and look at also the origins of the states that had the highest amount of disparity, racism, Jim Crow. They were the even now they're still the slowest state to allow advances for impoverished people, specifically Black people. They're the states with the highest number of redlining, and the list can go on and on.
Question. I'm sorry. Well, do you have a year?
I think all the status was from 2013.
Wow. 2013. That's not even the 1940s, 1960s, nor 70s. That's 2013. So when we always say, "Oh, we come so far, we come a long way,"
but that's just the general population. That's the general population. So if you now go dip into just the Black population,
oh gosh,
the statistics start to get even more extreme. So while 74% of white children below the age of 18 live with both parents, only 38% of African American minors can say the same thing. So that is with a family. So you only have a third, or almost less than a third, of Black children who actually have two parents in a household. Yeah, it's sad. It's shocking, and I feel as a single mom, I was so disappointed in myself when I became part of that statistic. And you're like, well, Iola, what could you have done about it? I think.
Damn, you know what? Are we? We're all part of that statistic.
Yeah, like what is? Let's go around and list our status. Because for me, I'm a single mom. I'm divorced.
Okay, single mom, divorced. Michael, right?
Wow. I'm not single. I am divorced because I was married,
but you're not married anymore, so technically you are single.
No.
You're single.
No, I'm not single. I'm technically married.
Wait, what's her name? Jackie?
Now.
Jackie.
Wait, no, you're not married unless what is a common law? Were you married? You've been together for 5 years, living in the same house.
Wow.
No,
We're
I
trying
want
to get deep
so-
down into
no,
it. We want to
so-
know your status.
Say again.
You're not technically
Said
married
status, not names.
unless
She over here. Wow.
unless you've been living together for about 5 years. I believe that's what
Common
legally. That's a common
No,
law.
I'm not talking about common law. I mean,
So you single
In
know,
his head,
you
he's
know,
married.
In her head.
Oh, God. Oh, damn. Uh-oh.
But
Get in trouble now.
But we are one, so I do agree.
They
You
move
understand?
as
one.
You understand?
And then how many
Absolutely.
children do you
Absolutely.
have?
Absolutely. I'm working on a farm. I'm working on it.
I just have one.
I'm working on it.
Okay, he's plentifulling the land with his children.
Absolutely.
Procreation, my man.
What's going over there with you, Miana?
I am a single mom of 3, divorced.
Okay, so I am a single father of 1, and yes, that's what I am.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, so we all fall into that statistic. Any guys have, like, let's go across the table. Do you feel like there was something that could have happened in your life to prevent you having a child with someone and that relationship not being severed?
You know what? I did not want to be that statistic. That was something that I looked at growing up, and I said, you know what? I always wanted to make sure that I would be with the person that I've had children with. That's the person that I was going to marry. But life happens.
Right.
Things happen that are out of your control, and you roll with the punches. You know what I mean? We weren't together when I found out that she was pregnant.
Okay.
And she lived across the country. We were doing a long distance relationship. We were together at one time, but we were broken up. I happened to, I happened to go back into town where she was, and we saw each other, and then I got that call.
There was some magic. It takes magic to create a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
The
100%.
right moment at that small teeny window that a woman has.
Ain't no small teeny here.
No, the window that a woman has.
Oh, my fault.
Hey.
Okay,
But I'm saying, so like, yeah, we ended up,
No blushing now.
I got that call, and she told me that she was pregnant, and because of her history, I knew that she had a miscarriage prior to, and I believe she told me it was mine. It was, this was like before when we were together, we were broken up, yada, yada, yada. So she was very adamant about saying, hey, I'm keeping this child.
Okay.
So I was like, because I asked her, I was like, hey, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? Like, I have my own thoughts, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
So she was like, I'm keeping this child. Cool. I said, then you know something? We're back together. We should be back together. And if that's the case,
awesome.
I commend you.
I
Were you prepared for that, though?
Hell no, nigga, not prepared. No.
I mean, some men, they're like, listen, I'm ready. Like, children are I've been waiting for this.
I don't think anybody's ever ready. Like, I mean, you could say
I
you're
was
ready.
I
You're ready?
I think I wanted
Me
it. I
too.
think I always knew I wanted to be a mom.
I mean, that doesn't mean I
Yeah.
didn't always want to be a father, but
Right.
being ready, I had no idea what it was. So I
Right.
can't say I'm ready for something that I have no idea of.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
wanting something and being ready for it is two entirely different things.
True.
So, I was like, moved her to New York, and we got back together, and we started, this family, and it didn't work out. So we are now co-parenting. She ended up moving back to where she was from, and yeah, I ended up being a statistic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. Parenting, they say parenting, if your relationship isn't strong going into parenting and is already a little shaky, having a child is, I feel like, is being hazed. Like, you don't get your sleep deprived, like all of the worst scenarios. And if your relationship isn't so strong enough to surpass that, it will crumble. And I think that potentially is part of the issue with relationships staying together with children. It's like you're sleep deprived. So if you're not communicating on the same level, have the same goals, and even like have the same vision for like educating your child and you know how much quality time you're spending with this child, then things are going to fall apart.
Things can be difficult. I wouldn't necessarily say that they would fall apart, but they will be difficult. Co-parenting, many people are I'm not going to say most, but many people are co-parenting these days. Right now, my situation with my daughter's mother is cool. Wasn't always cool, but now, you know, we've gotten to a better stage in our relationship. But it's difficult. I won't allow it to fall apart. I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, because my daughter means too much to me. So
but a lot of men don't think like you. A lot of men don't think like that.
Well, I think it's the emotional intelligence part, because you have to have emotional intelligence to say, I am going to still withstand this challenging situation for the benefit of my child. I know I had to do it, because a lot of times, and for me, I'm like, I actually enjoy being a single parent. I am the one person that guides my daughter's morals and values.
Awesome.
And I would not sign up for it. I want the perfect partner who we meld with. But with the person that I had her with, we don't sync. So I'm like, I actually enjoy that I have her the majority of the time, because if we were in a closer proximity, I think it would be a clash. It would be very, and it still is confusing for her.
But he's in her life.
He's in her life. And I think some days I'll be like, listen, if you want to get off this bus, bye. But I drive miles to make sure that she has that interaction, you know? Wow. And if I really didn't want to, you know, I don't have to.
You drive miles to make sure that she has interaction with her father?
Correct.
You're saying that he doesn't drive miles?
He's meeting me halfway. You're right.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because that's very important. Like, you know, when people say we're single parents, that doesn't mean that there's no other parent there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a single parent. Her mother is there, you know, and I would hope that her mother says the same about me, because I'm there.
I try not to say that I'm a single parent, honestly, because I am co-parenting, but I'm the majority parent. Like, I feel like I have her 85% of the time. And so I do get breaks. And then some parents have that 50-50. I don't think you can walk around and say you're a single parent when you have half the week to kind of like lay around the house on the sofa when your kids are not home. Yeah.
But there's a big difference also between like the presence of a father and then the financial presence as well.
True.
Like,
what do you mean?
For like my situation, for like, he sees them like, you know, every other weekend and 2 days out of the week, but financially he's non-existent. So then it's hard, and it's like, and the good thing about me and what I like, and I think that a lot of more single moms should kind of like think about it, is I don't, because he's still not paying anything and helping me out financially, I don't hold that against the kids. So I allow the kids to see him on a regular basis.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Or if he wants to see them more, you know, like the Super Bowl, he wanted to see my son. So I let my son go and hang out with him, because it's not their fault. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the children should not be punished.
Absolutely. I have a question for the ladies, because I heard a reoccurring theme, and it's always the same reoccurring theme. You made the comment, well, most men don't think like Marco does, right? So, ladies, my question is it usually the men who don't think like that and is not in the child's life because they just absent-minded, and you said because of intellectual maturity? Is that what you said?
Emotional
intelligence.
I'm glad you're bringing this point up. Continue.
So, but that's the only recurring thing you always hear all the time. So my question is it the men?
I'm going to say this. I'm sorry, before the ladies answer, because I have good friends of mine that are good guys that unfortunately are not in their children's lives the way that they want to be. And I know them, and it's not because they don't want to be there, but the chip that their children's mother has towards them makes it very difficult. I got a good friend who has a son that he's only seen when he was born. He doesn't know where he is. Now, it's a catch-22, because I'm like, damn, son, I'm gonna find out. Like I'm gonna find out where my kid is.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not gonna judge him. I don't know
Yeah.
the parameters of their situation. You know what I mean? But from what he tells me, and from what they tell me, it's like, hey, they are being stopped. They're being blocked from seeing their children.
A lot of women do that.
And actually, there was a point with me and my daughter where I've done it because I was being disrespected, and I think
How were you being by him?
by his woman, and there were certain ways in which that I raised my daughter. I think we're not talking enough as a community about boundaries, and if I were a stepmother, I'm taking myself out of being a mom.
Mhm.
If I were a stepmother to say the guy that I'm dating, I'm married to, I will respect his wife's boundaries. If she's telling me I don't like him dressed like this, I don't want to comb her hair, please do not discipline my child. That's his father's job. Then you listen to that because that's your role.
Respect,
and I talk to my family members who are step parents, and I say, your role is to be a friend to that child as a step parent.
Exactly.
So me on the receiving end of being a mom of a child who has like a stepmother role and her father in the middle, I tell him, this is how I want my daughter to be treated when she's like, don't tell me what to do with my daughter in your house. Then my daughter come back, she's 3, half her hair is gone. I keep asking you guys respectfully.
I
keep asking you guys respectfully. Yeah, my daughter's coming home cursing, and my daughter comes home smelling like cigarette smoke, and so you have like a different.
You have to have you know when to protect as a parent.
Yes, and I've learned to just let a lot of stuff slide under the rug, and now my daughter is older, and I'm just like, Cam, like you can't be around the smoke because when you come home, I gotta wash you from head to toe, and that's time and energy for me. Like you're a girl, I gotta wash your hair, and it reflects on me, and it reflects on her health that she's being exposed.
Secondhand smoke.
Mm-hmm.
For you.
Yeah.
The parameters that you gave her father were okay. Don't smoke around your daughter, right? There shouldn't be any smoke, and I'm assuming that
she shouldn't be disciplined. My daughter.
She shouldn't be disciplined.
We almost had like a little
he's about to throw down.
Throw it down, and that's not even my character. But I was just like, you don't put your hands on anybody's child. Like when I babysit kids or my friends have play dates, as soon as baby starts to cry, I'm calling your mom because I don't want you to be upset, and I don't want to be upset with you in my home. But you have people who it's the stepmom, like the Cinderella complex, I call it. Where you have the evil stepmother, and some people they don't know how to treat your child. They don't have kids, and they don't really like the presence of your child.
And it always seems like the other woman has an issue with the mom. It's so weird.
It's this baby mom complex where it has to be drama. And I remember real fast, my ex-husband, he had his first child with the woman he's with now. And
hold on. Wait, so this is Cam's father?
Cam's father has 4 additional children.
So he was with her before you?
No. Cam's the oldest, and she's the second one. So they have more kids.
Oh.
Yeah,
so,
they have more children.
Oh, so
him and I were married, and then we were actually still married. They had children. Oh, well, we weren't connected. We were separated.
He was growing the black community,
He was growing.
basically.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. It's like a small technicality. But I said, I understand your presence is more solidified now, right? So before,
they have kids.
But yeah, before you were in his life, I didn't know how permanent that was. But you have children. I said, you and I need to sit down and come to some type of like level where we can communicate because our children will be sisters, And there was nothing. No, like I'm not hearing it. Why now? Now it's because our children will be sisters. If the dad dies tomorrow, our kids will still be sisters. We need to be able to communicate. And there was no communication. And I think that's also as the male in between that, in between that role, you have to be able to kind of monitor that situation.
I agree.
I agree.
What I mean? That's what I was going to ask you. Are you giving options? You're saying, okay, you as the stepmother cannot discipline our child, the child, but you can speak to them. You can speak sternly. Her father can be the one to chastise if need be. That sort of thing.
We had to go to court. We had to go to court in order to get this written down because honestly, we were in court and we were about to go. They do the mediation, and we were about to go to the judge because of the discipline issue. That was the one issue he was stuck on. And I said, listen.
How is he stuck on it?
Because he didn't. he was like, I'm not always there. I'm like, well, you should be always there. She's not there all the time. So when she's there, who's she there to see? You. And he's like, well, she should be able to discipline Cameron because she disciplined the other kids. So it's like almost a separate situation. And I was like, well, that's not her child.
Mm-hmm.
And the mediator was agreeing with me. And I said, my daughter's self-esteem will be affected if this person disciplines their child or has different morals than I, right? And I'm disciplining and speaking to my daughter in a certain way. He understands the way in which I discipline my daughter halfway. He might do it halfway, you know.
Is it a physical discipline that she's doing?
Spanking?
There was one point where she put her hands on my daughter.
Yeah, that's crazy.
like my daughter reported that she like mugged her, like she like took her head and pushed
Mushed
her back, mushed her.
Yeah. Mug, that was like mug.
Yeah, mushed.
That's
And I was just
crazy.
like,
That's not discipline though. That's not discipline.
that's putting your
That's instilling fear in the
Exactly.
child.
But you just said that was one time that she did this. So what were the other times?
The other times it's just the way she's talking, like, oh, like threatening and stuff like that. And I don't talk to my daughter like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a level of respect. Like, if I was in a situation where I'm with a guy that has kids, like, I'm going to sit there and text the mom and be like, this is what she did. Do you want to talk to her? Like, you know, I'm just that kind of a person. Like, I'd rather stay balanced with what, you know, like, you have to all have an agreement.
Right.
And I feel like, honestly, more white people that are in, like, you know, basically households where, you know, share the kids and stuff like that.
Blended. Mm-hmm.
What was it? They, are more into the, like, you go to birthday parties, the father's there, the mother's there, the girlfriend's there, you know, the new husband's there.
Mixed in,
like,
yeah.
and
then
that's fine.
Then
They're
Will and
more
Jada.
together. They have
Exactly.
more
They might.
unity.
They might.
Unity.
They don't
Exactly.
have a horrible broken family structure,
Exactly.
and they're not always promoted in their face, in their kids' face. That is cool. Oh, yeah, I don't need no man. Or, oh, I don't need her.
Exactly.
She's a bird. They don't have that problem. It's a whole
And that's
different
crazy.
dynamic.
But there's a whole culture to me also, and not all men, but around men. I remember I was so upset when I had to go to child support court because never in my life did I think that my daughter's father would just not be like, hey, here's some money to get her snacks. Hey,
Thank you.
He just wanted to do half a daycare and that's it. I'm like, well, I have to feed her. I have to take off work when she's sick.
Let me ask you this
All
question
day.
because I need to understand
My guy
this.
doesn't even do that.
But let me
sorry.
so wait, let me ask. I mean, let me try to understand this. So you're saying that your daughter's father wasn't giving
Proactive.
you,
Yeah.
but wait, he wasn't giving you a monthly amount.
And
No.
in the beginning, until I took him to child support court. So I'm in
Damn,
child
see
support.
that?
Yeah, until I'm in child support court because I'm just like, you know, like $10, $20 every now and then. Like, I'm not asking you for a lot. So then when we go and we finally get the court date, he comes without an ID. So that's a thing in the community where the men will come without an ID. So they're not. So like they're trying to game the system, and I was just disgusted. I was done, and it's not about me; it's about the child.
Exactly.
It's
It's
a
the
culture
truth.
amongst men that would come without an ID. What?
No, she didn't
it
say
again.
that. She said, "What did you say?"
I say it's a thing that like somebody told him to come to court without an ID so he could try to game the system and not be input in the system. He was in the system before. It was so funny. So they didn't even need his ID to find him. They knew. They just looked up his name and knew who he was. It was just because his mom received child support. So it's like a perpetuated cycle. And I just never thought I would be part of the cycle.
You never think that you would be. You never
Yeah.
think that you would be a stereotype or a statistic.
But even if we broke up, like, why can't we sit down and be like, okay, how much do you think you need for the child? How much can you afford? There was a point where he lost his job and he was trying to get it adjusted. I cut it down to half, which was the biggest mistake.
So wait, he was paying you.
No, after they came up
Oh,
with
this,
a number.
oh, this is after court.
Child support
Okay, gotcha,
court.
gotcha,
They
gotcha.
decided on his number. It was more. It was
You don't
a more
gotta say that number, but
appropriate.
yeah.
No, it's an appropriate number. But
Okay.
he's like, I just lost my job. I got a mortgage. I got this. I got that. So we cut it in half, and that number never moved
Yeah, you
back
can't cut
to
it
the
in half.
original.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was being considerate, and then it was just like a whole mess. I don't know. He wasn't paying at one point. He was on his second kid and not paying. I was just like, oh my God,
Yeah,
I can't
that's
believe
crazy.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm gonna say, fortunately, my daughter's mother and I, we haven't gone through the court.
It sounds
Good
great.
job.
That's
We have-
good.
I
I
mean,
love that.
It's
I
good to
mean,
not have that as a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
you know, but real talk, and I'm gonna let her know. She probably knows this. She probably knows this.
And you know she's watching.
You watching? I know you watching.
She would
Real
never tell
talk,
you.
as I've checked stuff out. If we
Okay.
did go to court,
She would get less.
she would be getting less. You know what I'm saying? And
But at least you're stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
Being there for your daughter, basically physically, and then as well, being there financially.
Yeah.
Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that are not. There's
Yeah.
men that are super bitter, just like there's women that are super
I
bitter.
was gonna say, just like there's women that are super bitter.
I can't say that I have a fond relationship with him, but I am grateful that my daughter has a father. And so when we pray, we include him, we include his wife,
Yes.
we include them in our prayers, because for me, it helps to mold my daughter. Even if
Exactly.
it's a contrast in households and how we move, I was like, it's only going to make my daughter more dynamic.
You have to be the bigger individual when it
Exactly.
comes to co-parenting.
Yeah.
No matter how I feel about my daughter's mother at the time, even though we're cool now, there were times where we weren't so cool. My daughter would never know that. You know what I'm saying? My daughter.
Your daughter's also really young.
She's 5.
Yeah,
My daughter,
wait a couple years. They start to pick up on things.
No, she knows things now.
Okay.
Like she's asked, So my daughter's mother came to pick her up to take her back to Las Vegas. That's where her mother lives. So my daughter's mother. I mean, my daughter has basically been saying, "Daddy, I want a brother and sister."
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? Like she's been saying that for months now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And she'll ask me, "Daddy, do you love mommy?" I said, "Yes." No, I'll say no. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna.
Did you see her? I love her too. Well, no, I'm just saying.
Yo,
Ooh, I didn't see her. You weren't the
gotta
second
see her.
picture.
Hold on, son.
commenting.
She's
You
a
gotta-
baddie.
Oh, you be
Yeah.
disrupting my whole train of thought, son.
Oh, she is a baddie. Uh-oh.
This chick me on
Oh.
more. Anyway,
I was like, wait, what is
I
Miana
just
saying?
got confused. Anyway, but no, I will always, that's the goal. I'm not gonna. I love her mother. Her mother gave me my daughter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's
Exactly.
always gonna be love there.
And
you know what I mean?
respect.
Yeah.
I make sure my mother. I make sure my daughter sees me, embrace her mom. How are you? You're good. You know what I mean? Like.
I have the opposite.
Me too. You wouldn't
Yeah.
even know that we were together if you came in a room until my kids run up to him and say, "Daddy, Daddy." You would never know we even had a relationship.
But see, that's the thing. Like we have to take ourselves outside of it. Like it's just not about us.
I've
See, but
tried
I
to.
don't want
My-
to be
he
fake to
won't
my
let me.
daughter. In the last thing we talked about lying, and my thing, I told my daughter, I said, I barely greet him. We say hello, and that's it. And I say he was not a good friend to me, and I want to set an example for my daughter
Exactly.
for her relationships, friendships, and beyond. So I want her to know when you have a friend who's no longer a good friend, you don't still treat them like they're the best friend that you had. You don't. There are boundaries that come to that. So I was like, we have come to the place where we're no longer good friends, and he does not get the privilege of my joy.
But you've been telling her this now.
That's deep.
I've been telling
That's
her
deep.
that for the longest time.
For the longest time.
Then she's like, "Why are you and Daddy not married?" I said, "Kim, he wasn't a really good friend, and we were married, but he wasn't a good friend, so we couldn't stay
You tell
together."
your daughter that Daddy wasn't a good friend to you?
He wasn't a good friend to me.
You tell her that?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
I'm honest with my kids,
Whenever
too.
Michael Wright says that's interesting,
Why? Why
I
is
know
that
he got more to
interesting?
say. I want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, he's thinking over
No, because
there.
as men, we have a different
That's
perspective.
that's very interesting.
Because a relationship is a friendship. You know, marriage is a friendship first. So
Yeah.
So in that child mind now, when she's thinking about Daddy, she go to sleep. She's thinking, what is a bad friend to her, and what are the examples of people who are not good friends that she sees through cartoons or images or whatever. So she's going to,
Mike,
I
let
get
me
it.
ask you
I
this,
get
though.
it.
What-
That's something.
I feel you, but what
That's something.
should she have said?
What should she have?
Or what
said?
could
in your opinion.
in your opinion?
Because I think it's a great thing to tell children
You have to
to
be
teach
honest.
them about relationships from a young age. You agree?
What do you think she
That
should have
was a
said?
good disclaimer. I like that.
What do you think she should have said or could have said? Because you know what I'm saying? Like we can't say this is not that you said this, but you can't say that
I
this is
appreciate that.
yeah, not that you said this, but we can't say that this is whack without giving another option.
That's why I said it's
A better
interesting.
option.
I know that's why you say it's interesting, but I
It's
know you.
interesting. It's interesting. Absolutely.
What do you- so what do you-
By the way,
What do
this
you
is some good
tell-
iced tea. I want to just shout out this iced tea.
yeah.
Iced tea.
Yeah, coffee last week,
Tea today.
tea today.
Today.
It's good for you.
That's why I said it's
I'm sipping on a hot tea today.
interesting
So am I.
as I sip my tea.
It was iced tea.
You have to be honest with your kids. That's like with my my son, I'm very honest with everything. They see, the struggles that I go through without getting the financial help, to the point where my son literally had money for school and gave it to me.
So he know. Your kids know that you're not getting financial help
They
from
know.
daddy. How do they know that?
They know because
You tell them.
my kids are used to like from being married. They were used to getting these are Disney kids every year going to Disney. This is that whatever. So they're used to a certain lifestyle. Now that they don't have it, I can't go. I used to go whenever we went in Walmart, whatever. They all got toys and this is that whatever. Now I have to be like, no, mommy doesn't have it. Like this is that whatever. And they do know. I'm very honest with my kids.
They do the math, yeah.
But like my son literally gave me like $2 and was like, "No, mommy, I want you to take this. Like I want." And he's like, "When I get older, like I'm gonna make money and I'm gonna make sure that we're okay and all this other stuff."
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
you have to be honest.
Even
with your
through
kids.
the struggles, we can teach our kids positive messages, and I prefer with my child to not have her be ignorant of challenges I'm going through. I do want to make sure that they're in the context of her, what she can comprehend. And even now, she's 10 and a half, and she's like, Mom, at what age are you going to tell me what really happened? Because she wants to know.
She's a bright girl. I see.
She's smarter than me already. Are you smarter than fourth grade? I'm like, no, because I got to be on my toes with her. So I'm just like, Cameron, maybe when you're 18, I'll tell you, because it'll be also a learning thing for her. I want you to know when you meet a man, I want you to know what to look out for compatibility.
Yes.
I made a mistake as far as finding someone who was compatible because I didn't know what to look for. So now I'm teaching her about friendship. Girls, boys, whoever, what kind of friend are they to you, and how are you going to decide whether they should stay in your life or not? Sometimes I felt like I was raised to keep toxic people in my life just because they're there.
Whoa.
It's the truth.
And it wasn't a lesson.
Give me an example of how you feel you were raised to be that.
It was a non-lesson. My mother is the sweetest lady. She's very tolerant.
Very tolerant.
Mm-hmm.
You know
very
what?
Very tolerant.
My mom is too.
Yes, and that is not your children need to see you stand up for for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
They need to see you stand up for them. And I always ask Cam, I said, you need me to go down to school and talk to somebody who? She's like, nobody, no,
Yeah.
Mom. But I think she also finds joy in knowing that if it came there, she knows Mama have her back.
Yeah.
My mom would be like, just ignore it, Iola. It was the worst thing.
Yeah.
I used to have nightmares about school because I didn't know what to do. I would have got beat if I fought, but I needed to fight.
Yeah.
You would have gotten beat by your mom?
I would have got beat by my dad. My dad was the beater. My mom, she would just tell, But I would have got beat for misbehaving. Because it's called misbehaving when you're standing up for yourself. Remember, Miana, you were saying how you're like the
that
parent.
That must be a Trinidadian thing.
The parent, you're the parent on the playground.
Oh, yeah, I don't play games.
Yeah.
I told the story
my
before.
My parents would never do that.
There was a kid bullying on the playground. And I literally was screaming at the parents. I said, whose kid is this? And all the parents got red and they're sitting there looking like, oh my God, is that my kid she's talking about? I'm pointing to the kid. And I was like, we don't deal with bullying. This is 2018. I'm that parent.
But see, that's if you look at the bigger message in that, you're teaching your child, you need to stand up for yourself. And bullying is not a good friendship or relationship to be in.
Exactly.
So that transfers with them as they go. They start dating. If, for example, your son, even if he dates a girl wuld be like, I want this, he'd be like, no, my mom said that don't work,
Yeah. Yeah, my son's a little, I'm going to have trouble with him. He is so smooth, I can't take it. He's too smooth.
It's very interesting.
What would you guys want your children to know about your relationships that did not succeed in a sense?
I think, so I'm approaching stuff with my daughter as, okay. I approach my daughter as being her own entity already. She's her own entity. She has what I had, and she's able to process information well. That's how I already know. I knew that when she was a baby. So I just feed her loving information. And from what I've seen from now to her being 5, which she's 5 right now, is she's processing things herself. She tells me, she wants to have a brother or sister. Okay. She knew about my last significant other. That was somebody who she actually interacted with. So I didn't have to let her know that this person was who I was seeing. She knew it. You know what I mean? So she assumed, Daddy, are you gonna give me a sister with, so and so? She knew it,
Wow.
she
kids don't play.
So, but she's also very smart when she sees that daddy and mommy, like, because I make it a point to hug her mother in front of her.
That's
I,
good.
I make it a
wish I had
point.
that.
So she, she's smart. She's funny. She's just like, she actually said, do you love mommy? Yes, I love your mother. She said, I want a baby sister.
You're like, make it happen.
You know what I mean? But
That's what love do.
I think I'm just confident in the way that I'm raising her. Certain things do not have to be spoken for her to process and understand.
That's good.
I don't know if that works for everybody.
Do you guys think that not being in the same household, because we're kind of talking about like household connectiveness, affects your children in positive and negative ways?
There's positivity and negativity from that, but there's also positivity and negativity from, two parents cohabitating as well in the same household. There's positivity and negativity in any scenario situations. So yeah, there are, of course, there's negativity by not being in the same household. Yes. Can you surpass that? I think you can. You have to make the conscious effort to.
Right.
FaceTime is a wonderful invention.
And because I think even though we're all talking as almost like singular parents, when we parent our children, we're more so singular. I think there are a lot of households that the fathers are just not there. Like you were talking about your one friend, he don't know where his kid is. And I found some interesting statistics related to that. They were saying how children who grow up in fatherless homes are 4 times more at risk for poverty. The young teens are 7 times more likely to become pregnant. The children are more likely to have behavior problems, have more likely to go to prison, more likely to commit crimes. They're more likely to use drugs. They're 2 times more likely to have like eating disorders, and 2 times more likely to drop out of high school.
Where'd you get that from?
Suicide as well.
And that's a fatherhood.org. And the high rate of suicide, included in that. And so we're talking about just mom in the house, and father, we don't know where he is. So the support, even the part-time support, I think is helpful.
A man is very important to a child's
100%.
upbringing. May not have to be the father, because there's been people who were fatherless.
Father figures,
but there's a father figure around. It's important.
Yeah, you might not have your father around, but you may have that guy around that you call uncle this or uncle that, that may have played catch with you. Never came into none of your family reunions.
Do you think
but you may have it, and it's there as a positive whatever that is for that child. Now, when you read those things out for those statistics that what happens to children that are fatherless in the home, get in trouble, behavioral problem, the young girls getting pregnant early, young boys going to jail, depression, even suicide is a all-time high. That's like higher than cancer right now. I believe it's like one of the all-time crazy killers within the black community.
Exactly.
Really?
It
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
Even though, especially amongst black men, leading the pack.
Black men are killing ourselves. I don't mean like black and black
realize
violence.
that.
I'm talking about suicide. Yeah, depression.
Wow.
Depression and all that stuff and suicide is real. Like when I'm taking a sit back. I'm taking a seat back. I'm more of a private person, right, when it comes to situations like this, because I would say this: I got married, young age, because I grew up in the church from a small town. Got to give my town a shout out, Murfreesboro, North Carolina. The borough,
snap.
baby.
One traffic light.
absolutely,
One
absolutely.
Three.
3.5.
Three and a half.
When I first met Mike, it was only one.
Oh, they got a couple more. They got 2 more.
Yeah. Don't hold that against me, y'all. They just making fun. So my experience was so different. It was like I had no navigational system to go off of, because there are no books. There is no guidelines. There are no help for someone who writing a book for young men, how to differentiate a wife from a non-wife, or anything like that.
Did you grow up in a two-parent home?
It's like that's not even irrelevant right now.
You don't think it's relevant?
Not right. Not to what I'm saying
Okay.
right now. No. What I'm talking about is what's out there to actually like help and guide young boys. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you look out there, there's always books and stuff, but it's always how to think like a man for women or this, that, and the third. It's almost like it's not profitable. Yeah, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now when we look back, when we look back at the dynamic and like social engineering and how the black family structure was broken up, we got to look at how it was broken up and why. And then when you say all that stuff about depression and suicide and this, that, and the third, I feel like that child is being exposed to too much information at one time. And they don't know how to decipher that. So therefore that anger, that stuff, that builds up. And then when you see mom happy and whatever getting along with this other guy, these strangers, you're like, well, damn, why I can't speak to my father? Why is my father so mad? Why he don't want to come over here? Is he that he don't love me? You understand what I'm saying? And I even like recognize, you can see back and you see a mother fussing at the kid. Oh, you dumb like your ugly ass daddy. Does
That's
that like
horrible.
but you gotta speak on it. Like we can't act like it doesn't exist. Like it's two sides to every coin, and it does our culture. It does ourselves, our own community, because we are non-white. You understand? No disrespect to anybody else. But if there's dirt within my own household, within my own race, I want to sweep that up. You understand? No disrespect to anybody else.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think that's something that we really, really, really need to look at and get a hold of. And a lot of men, like I know I would say this much. I have nothing bad to say about my significant other that did not work out right. It's nobody's business. You understand? Like, I have nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. Not even to the kids. Nothing. Oh.
Wait.
Go ahead.
I understand not even to the kids, but
Absolutely
you ain't
not.
got nothing bad to say. To your
No.
homeboys?
I don't mean like if I'm out my man's and I'm feeling a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Because I'm calling and the call's not getting answered. Things is going on, but you'd rather go about it a certain type of way to go. You'd rather go with status quo or with it's easy to go with the stereotype.
I see what
It's
you're saying.
easy. It's a lot easier to go with the stereotype because it doesn't take a lot of thinking to go with that, and then to know that the norm and how they look at it. How is the black male looked at in the society? Period. So it's not that hard to put a stamp on him as a whack baby daddy or whatever the case may be. If he's not doing whatever it is that you want, not saying that all women are like that, but I'm not gonna say all women are angels neither. That'd be a horrible.
There's stereotypes on both ends. There's stereotypes on both
ends. But we have
ends.
to make it known. You have to speak about them.
I have to say this real quick because this is a totally different other topic. But women, I love women, but there's so many platforms, books, and articles that perpetuate men as being lesser. Like, okay, sis, you got to find yourself a good man. You know what I mean? There's not too many good men out here. No, that a lot of it is wrong. And when women have to realize that a lot of these people that are speaking ill will about men, towards men, are really doing a disservice to society.
The definition of what a good man is, I think, needs to change because I think I find myself falling into the pressures of you got to date a man with money. You know what I mean? Like that's your priority is finding a good man with money. And if, he's a good man, he got money. And I'm just like, nah, the money is a very small portion of it. It means you can sustain yourself. But there's so much more to that. You know what I mean? And so we have to start deciding as women to start to date men of character.
Yeah,
but you have to have your own character within yourself in order to do that. Yeah.
But it's hard for me. I'm on the other side of the spectrum because I would not date a man that is not financially stable. Because I have, yeah, that's just what
it can be on the list, but I think for a lot of women, it's the only thing on the list, and they're not sure what else to put on there. There was a point where I was like, it's kind of too scared to even put that on there because I was like, well, I don't want to limit a regular guy. Like I love a guy who's trying to make it and work his way up, but then I had a couple situations where I was like, maybe that doesn't work for me.
It doesn't.
No.
I think the older that you get, the difference, like, and I date older, so I'm not going to be dating a guy that's like,
you got
45, 45, 50, and then all of a sudden he's talking about like he's, just starting out with this and that. I couldn't do that. It doesn't make any sense for me.
What do you guys think the solution to the issue is? I know for me, even though my parents separated later in life, I do feel, and they had their issues. I do feel that me seeing their dynamics, whether the positive dynamics or the not so positive dynamics, just seeing it for myself every day helped me to process what I wanted and what I didn't want.
Yeah.
My parents are still together.
That's great.
Should they be together is a different story. Now, technically, my father's an Indian man. You know what I mean? Still a man. You know what I mean? And I appreciate my father being in my life, but the dynamic that he brought to my life wasn't always positive. You know, and that's just, my Indian brothers know what time it is when it comes to having an Indian father. It's some different shit.
Oh.
Some different shit. And
did you learn positive things, like even from the negative?
Of course, you learn. Like I'm a positive individual,
right,
so
right.
I always try to look for the positive. But
do you think it's harder to be in a relationship from what you saw?
you know what? In life, you can't blame your circumstances all the time. Sometimes you get, like, I get why you may act that way.
Right.
But I learned certain things from my dad, but I also learned how not to act from my dad. Like, my mom will say stuff to me like, where did you learn that? Because your father wasn't doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I said to myself,
You learned what not to do. That's what it is.
yeah, not that, like,
It's complicated.
I don't want to.
I have to say that depends on the child. That depends on the child. That it really depends on the child, and depends on also the support or the type of peers he has around him,
True.
and the type of
Environment.
information that each geographical location. Like for me, I spend a lot of time, and I praise to my ancestors for it. I spent a lot of time with my great grandfather, my grandmother's father. I spent lots of time with him. But my mother, and I love my mother for it. And I did not grow up with my mother and father. Like I said last podcast, I was born in Brooklyn, but I was raised in North Carolina. So my father stayed here in New York. Bless his soul, he passed. But my mother went to North Carolina. Now my mother sick, very sick, and had some things going on with the family. Now I ended up staying with my grandmother at the time. Now, whatever reason why my mother and my father was not together, and I love my mother to death. I love all my family. You understand? My mother never had anything ill, or bad, or negative to say to me at all. And if she did, she had it. It was her business. Adult. That's between you guys. It's an adult things. You understand? Mm-hmm. My mother only and always poured positive things in my head and in my mind about my father. I would ask. I was like, dang, why dad not here? He don't want me, mom. He don't love me.
Damn.
My mother would respond, you crazy boy. He'd love you to death. If I didn't name him after you, he would kill me. You crazy?
That's
Your
cute.
father loves you.
That's
Just
what's up.
you know. So no, I never knew none of that. So I always had positive minds and images, and always had dreams. You understand? And hope for it. So therefore, I wasn't sad. I wasn't mad about it. I was always like, okay, I got.
And then you had your great grandfather too as a male model.
But that wasn't until later. That wasn't until later that I was exposed to my great grandfather, because as I'm a little child, right, I'm going through the transitional phase of being raised. Totally different in Murfreesboro, North Carolina. I'm coming from Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you understand? Everything is different. The rate that you're exposed to different stimuli is different. The temperament and the attitude of the women is different, and the men as well. You understand? Because when everything, we understand there's a cause and effect to it, you know? And the only time I ever heard anything negative was when I came to New York, and it was my father's side of the family They couldn't
Oh.
stand. They couldn't stand my mother. You understand?
That's
And that's the
sad.
only time I ever heard anything negative in any shape, form, or fashion about it. And so my family always asked me all the time, "Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from?" This and the third. And so I would look at them. I'm like, and so I would compare and contrast. I'm like, well, my mother is showing me what to do and how to do it. And you telling me and teaching me everything what not to do. So as a young boy, you sitting there with your mom and she's single. And she has a lot of single friends that are single parents as well. And I would just sit around and hear these women, how they bad they talk about these men, about how they don't do this, how they not like this, how they not like that. And I would sit there and think to myself, well, I'm going to make sure I do all of these things because I want to be the type of man that every woman would want. And I just want to make women, black women in general, happy. Right?
Oh wow!
But that was my thought about it.
Mr. Right.
Calm down, G.
Mr. Right.
Yeah,
You want to make all black women happy. That's what's up.
No, but seriously, absolutely. But when you don't know how to go about that, it can set you up. It can set you up to be henpecked, to be taken advantage of, and all different shape, forms, of fashion. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, one thing that I did want to say basically in the closing of our conversation is back in 1880, the U.S. Census reports revealed that between 1880 and 1960, married households consisting of 2 parents in the homes were most widespread among the African-American family.
Wow.
I did hear this.
Yeah, this is what we come from. Even during the slave days.
I'm sorry, what was the first date?
It's going to be 1880.
Oh,
so 1880 to 1960.
Wow.
Even when it goes back to the slave days, even though the father was extracted, basically by force, most black families were married. They had two people in the household, and you could see a lot of times where even on the plantations they would jump the broom in secret.
Yes, in secrecy, yes.
Exactly. So we come from a very strong, structured. Basically, and during these times, the black family households where they had 2 married couples within the household were leading the pack. So if you were white during this time, most likely you did not come from a family where it had the father and the mother.
I think that's a great statistic because it almost makes you wonder whether modernization has helped to collapse. And you were talking about the social engineering and how it has been conformed to make it so much easier to be like, know what, I'm done.
Definitely
walk away.
It's a lot easier, and like I said, the single woman, single mom is encouraged to be single, especially by our government.
What would you say? What would you guys say? How does our culture like influences that?
Heavily. In a variety of ways. Not for nothing. I mean, just television commercials,
But which ones?
Sexualization. I think the sexualization of our music, the sexualization of
cheating being cool.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age. Not for nothing. This topic right here, most likely we're probably going to have to do a part 2.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think part 2 or part 3 it is.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be.
Because there's so many different tangents that we can go on.
Yeah, because you can even talk about just our culture and how it creates this young sex culture. And, it's just like very sex heavy. And it's just like, it's really not necessary.
And we're not.
That's interesting.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're as sophisticated as we should be,
or as we think we are.
Complex and multifaceted, and all the wonderful things that our culture holds.
Anyway, man, it's another great episode.
Thank you for joining.
Absolutely,
we're gonna have to talk about this amongst ourselves even after.
Catch you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Adios.